The brave is not to do things that are provocative. The brave is to do things that are different, where there's a good chance that it will fail, and a small chance that it will be fucking amazing. Because when Steve Jobs did his thing, and Phil Knight did his thing, that small chance became the biggest pie in the world. And if you don't want big rewards, keep on doing your shit that you're doing. No problem. Everyone's happy. 2% growth, 4% growth. That's fine. Everyone's happy. You'll get your 13th check. So there can be no value created, there can be no brand created, there can be no money made without creativity. Sometimes that creativity, that magic is in the product itself. And that's the fourth industrial revolution. The things that actually themselves make you go, wow, the product is emotional in itself. That's part of the mix. It's also creativity. In terms of advertising, yeah, there were less media back then than there are now. There's a proliferation. So it was an easier job to do because you needed to specialize in a few versus a more. But the medium is not what we're talking about. It's the message. And where there's a message required, there'll always be a role for creativity for that message to stand out. So here's another example. Back when I was a lighty, it used to be SABC 1, maybe not even 2, 3. You know what I mean? You had 1, 2 channels. Now you've got how many channels on your box? Then you got DSTV with all those channels. You got Netflix and the rest of it. Yet you will say, I got to watch Handmaid's Tales. How did that come out? How did Blackish stand out? Not the medium. Medium's got nothing to do with it. The quality of the content, the storytelling, will always help a brand excel. Every single time. From now until the end of time. So bottom line is there will always be lots of media. The discipline in terms of making sure the technical stuff doesn't overwhelm it. It's going to be a discipline to be able to filter. That's a separate level of expertise. Ultimately, I'm in the creative business not because of what I know, it's because of what I believe. And the best businesses around the world know this too. They know it. Everybody knows it. So allow it to thrive. In South Africa, we don't rate creativity highly. It's not an industry in which gets support, gets a little support. There are places in Europe and in America, in the South Americas even, where creativity is revered, because the whole future of the world depends on creativity. Solving problems require creative problems. Not the support to make them happen is technical. The data that points out a problem is there, but to solve the problem will always be creative. Entertainment, arts, movement, anything, business, science, whatever. All of it comes back to one thing, the magic. The magic is the storytelling. The message is the message, the content. The media will forever change. It did back then, it will continue to change. The message doesn't. And for me, that's why, like I say, for a brand to earn value, it comes back to message and the mix, but the message. And I gave the example of Apple. You pay more for that Apple because of the message around the product. So value is there. Most valuable company in the world. Why? Because of what it stands for, the purpose, the message, the heart. That's your return on investment. That's domination, according to what you asked me. There's value and there's domination. Everything else, nothing can be excluded from creativity. And the progression of this world, I'm not talking about advertising, the progression of this world depends on people being creative. So now we started another conversation, but the schools need to start fixing themselves. That's a whole other thing. School system has been designed to create as many corporate slaves as possible. No one is encouraging creativity in the schools. No one is celebrating a mistake or a question or an unusual answer. You're getting nailed because you got it wrong. So that whole thing the whole psyche has to change. Ultimately, when it comes to brands and business, to answer your question, you said value, you said domination, and I don't know what the third thing was, creativity. All three of them link to one thing, the magic, which is the creativity. But the absence of that, there is nothing. You'll have sales. Sales is not brand, it's not perpetuity. Sales is very short term. So many marketers look at it and go, oh, let's bring the price down on that thing, and they chase that dragon. And they're not the world's best. They won't be there forever. You have to give people more than that. The value that's created out of it is the story, the aura, the purpose around something. The manner in which you do that, that's the creativity. Do it unexpected way. Do it in a contagious way. Do it in an emotional way, and you'll have it there. Domination, if you remain consistent and true and authentic to that thing, you will dominate, like Coca-Cola dominates, or Apple dominates, all the big brands do. So the theory of it is simple. The practice is where it comes into, that's where it's difficult. And that's the only one thing that you need in there to make that happen, is you have to be brave. The brave is not to do things that are provocative. The brave is to do things that are different, where there's a good chance that it will fail, and a small chance that it will be fucking amazing. Because when Steve Jobs did his thing, and Phil Knight did his thing, that small chance became the biggest pie in the world. And if you don't want big rewards, keep on doing your shit that you're doing. No problem. Everyone's happy. 2% growth, 4% growth. That's fine. Everyone's happy. You'll get your 13th check. Domination and monopoly are two different things. So I'm not going to talk about monopolies because I don't believe monopoly is a good thing. Okay. For a brand to dominate, really what you want at the end of the day is for your customer to say these words: I can't do without it. How you get there is an interesting discussion. I can't do without what, why, and how you build that. That's not just the advertising. That needs to make sure that that product works brilliantly, that that product is serviced with the consumer in the middle of it, right? So all the marketing books talk about it. You got the consumer in the middle of it. Everything around it needs to be fulfilling the needs, the desires, the wants, everything, the mind, the heart, everything of the consumer, right? So that's your product. That's the experience of the product, the experience of purchasing the product, the communication, the sponsorships that happen, the PR that goes around that product, the CSI, the projects that that product or that brand is interested in. All of that stuff goes into this one thing, and it comes out with this thing that goes, I can't live without this thing. It's not about a brand, it's not about how much it costs. I cannot do without it. And when you get to that state, you can dominate your category. You can dominate your category. So that for me is the how you get there needs to be relevant to that consumer. And so that'll differ from one to another. But if you can get the customer, that's what you should chase. You should chase that thing that goes, how can my customer say I can't do without X? And then you know what that is difference. Because if you've got the same thing as your competitor with a different packaging, you can do without yours and go to the other one. So what's the difference? Where is that difference? Everything is about difference. Everything is about newness. Newness and relevance. If that thing offers me something someone else doesn't, or the manner in which they deliver it is done in a way that nobody else does, or the way in which that thing makes me feel is different to how everything else makes me feel, then I can't live without it. And if I can't live without that thing, then you dominate. And that's the only time you dominate. Sales is not enough. People said, I can't live without my BlackBerry, not too long ago. Absolutely. So you've got to constantly be meeting that need. And that, I believe, is a product thing. I think it's a product in experience thing. I think often what used to happen back in the day was the communication were here and the products were here. Products were catching up with the communication. Now I find a lot of the products in the development, look at apps. They're here doing amazing things for us, but our comms are down here. So there needs to be a meeting of those two. It's quite a different thing in the world that's changed. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think you can dominate anything if people can't live without it, and if it's something they can't live without, it can't just be a feeling and an ad. It has to be a complete experience of that service or product that you're offering. It's not one thing. Comms can't make you not live without something. So the people that we hire in advertising agencies have the ability to deliver that. Okay. The client often doesn't see us as the experts in those things, so there's no credibility and trust there. The thing is, what excites creative people is solving problems in an unexpected, evocative, and contagious way. That's what gets us going, right? Ads are too limiting. Ads are too limiting. Secondly, we have perspective. So we are allowed to see things everyone else can't. We're actually perfectly and the minds in which the way in which we think is different to the way a marketing scientist thinks. So we offer something that's different. So what we should be used to do, take the ad agency out of the equation. Look at what's inside those four walls. You got some amazing human beings in there, often very much with ear to the ground and forward. That's an amazing thing. People in advertising agency are so aware of what's happening in the future, what's happening around, and they're also very connected to the ground, where we are now. They have the ability, the audacity to think the impossible. Creative people don't give a fuck. They're like, I don't know how, but I imagine if. What if? That's an amazing quality to have. The way their brains are wired is different to anyone else, in the sense that they're always trying to find another door into the same place. That's just by nature the creative thing. If you have those skills in an organization and you're utilizing them to make billboards, you're paying too much. It doesn't make sense to me, right? Utilize the brains and the expertise and the desire. That's what they want. The creative people want to solve the problem. Utilize those people to solve the problem you think they have no expertise in, because they'll find a way. And if they don't know, with collaboration with other people, if they don't find a way, they'll introduce you to a thought that you never thought about, which means you're not going around in this rat race, in this wheel. So for me, advertising agency will deliver advertising because that's what it says on the door, and that's what the client always believes it to be. But if a clever client actually looks at it and goes like, what kind of people have you got in your business? With no risk, what do you think of this? How would you change that? Because then the consumer in us kicks in, hardcore, because we got very vocal. Your branch sucks, or oh, this product is cuck. If only your thing could do this, or why don't you deliver it like that? So you're getting it like from the horse's mouth, and you're finding a different way. So it's utilizing creative brains in the most positive way, but to solve the problem, not to make ads. That's the difference. That's what we want, right? We're not getting it. So that's the amazing thing, is that it's not like you have to convert a whole lot of people in advertising agencies to start doing that. Like you have to drag them into it. They want it. Just give us the permission to do it and pay us fairly for it. That's the difference. You pay us in an hourly rate to do that stuff, but then you're making 20% profit for a big idea. That's unfair, right? So that's why no one does it. Because like, oh wait, hold on. Think about the rewards. I mean, there are companies that have R&D and innovation departments within the organization, right? They're spending millions of rands doing that. You have agencies you're contracted to. You won't give them a dig at that. What happens to the R&D development, the innovation departments, is that eventually the roots grow into that business, and you can't be that innovative because you know too much. So there are solutions that the people who are willing to find something interesting, just find a common ground and give them the opportunity to do that, give them the respect that they need, and then pay them fairly, and you should be more profitable. Every agency I've been into, even some that perhaps were not the most creative, attracts really interesting human beings. Interesting, brave human beings that will tell you stuff. And in telling you, you learn and you get exposed to things. And there's no other industry I know that's as thriving as this one, that has so many interesting people. And all those agencies. I mean, at Jupiter Cape Town, I met some of the smartest people there. I mean, 1999. Some super intelligent people who were writers and art directors, but the brains on them were far beyond just a copywriter and an art director. You know, when I joined here, there were guys here that I was like, shit. There was a guy called Ian Becker, who was a designer. Super intelligent man, but also other people, interesting, fresh people. Everywhere I went. Gavin Reddy, there were interesting people. Black River in my 12, 14 years, whatever it was there, it's like you learn, man. And every time, you know, things are evolving, younger people coming in, you just go like, I know nothing. So it's an exciting place because people are audacious. Advertising generally creative people, they don't care. They'll tell you stuff. Even if you don't want to learn, they're going to teach you something. And that's what's lovely about it, because it forces exposure to things you don't even know. It's an uncomfortable environment to be able to not know things. That's what I love about it. Advertising is that's probably it. It's the most comfortable environment in which you don't have to know stuff. You're allowed to not know things because people will teach you stuff. It's cool. It's really cool. That's why I say I won't be able to leave.
Yeah.
Of some way, shape or form.
Yeah. You will still be part of the industry.
Yeah, we get very jaded and we talk a lot of shit about ourselves. And it's a tough business. That's why. It's tough and it takes a lot out of you and you get very little back. It's not in the heyday where you used to make shitloads of money. Agencies' margins are small. But the amount of effort, that you put into it, not just effort, but the amount of heart you put into it for what you get out, it's just disproportionate. So the only thing that makes it worthwhile is the environment in which you're in, the people. That's the reason you stay, because you're just growing. You don't know it, but you're just growing. You remove that person from that environment and put them in corporate South Africa, they die. Doesn't matter how many degrees they study up there, they die. Because they're not learning stuff, they're not inspired by people. That's why this business, these people are phenomenal. They're phenomenal people. You won't find it anywhere else. So firstly, Nando's for me is still the most South African brand in the country. And it's most South African not because of Robbie Brosen and Fernando who started this in Rosettenville and the story that it came out of South Africa. But its attitude is as South African as it gets, right? This is before I even came into contact with the advertising. As a brand, it's audacious. It started out going, we're going to sell chicken and make chicken the most amazing thing in the world. The only South Africans think like that. It does it in a tone that is fearless. It's fearless. The product is fearless. The communication comes out of that. It's fearless. It's spicy. It's hot. It makes you stand up and it makes you notice it. It makes you look at it. It's impossible to ignore. The product, not even. And then the audacity to be world famous is the dreamer in us South Africans. You know what I mean? That's it. There's nothing as South African as that, in my opinion. And it comes from Robbie. Robbie Brosen, the guy that starts. And the fourth thing is, it's humble. Talking about Robbie. Here's a man who's done this thing, him and Fernando and obviously a larger team, but Robbie's dream becomes this global thing. The man is still so humble. He'll still send me a message when it's Eid or it's Ramadan, whatever, and it's years later. So the South Africans, we humble as well. We're not braggatte. We just we have these amazing aspirations. We work hard, we do this, we stand out. You'll never pass in South Africa, but we're also quite humble. So firstly, that brand is the most amazing brand. And secondly, it allows people to express themselves. That's the brand. That's what's amazing about that brand, is that it allowed us to express ourselves freely, fearlessly, without fear, just true brave. Topics that people wouldn't go to. We were allowed to do it because it's Nando's. My 12 years on the brand, I got schooled in my first meeting by Josie McKenzie. Josie McKenzie was the marketing manager back then. She was the person that did all the work prior to that. I got schooled by this lady. I'll never ever forget it. She taught me stuff in that first encounter with her about how to do advertising right. Put an idea in front of her and she would tell you why that piece of work was not good enough, or why that thing's amazing, or what not to do to it to spoil it. So Nando's had people in that organization over the years that were really good. And that makes us all better. I was saying to you, you're only as good as your client. Finishing client. So that's the second thing. Then the third thing I just want to talk about Nando's is that over the years, it was interesting because as people came in and out of Nando's and the briefs came in and out of Black River, we were finding it. We didn't hit it straight away. We had a great first ad. It was called Wandos. It was a Wandos campaign. And then we had a couple of misses, and then we started finding our feet. And then we started doing social media before social media. We started going viral before viral was a thing, which were these one-liners that we put out there, And it was, by the way, we'd write a line about something that's happening socially, and it would be very clever and intelligent and smart, but funny, so it was witty. And we'd put it out. How we used to send it out? We used to send it out to our email lists. And then we'd wait on Monday or Tuesday when someone sent it back to us. Have you seen this new thing? And that's how we knew it went viral. So we were exercising the principles of being viral before it became a thing, and people got paid to tell you how to do that. But the content allowed us to do that, and the client allowed us to have the content. And the client was allowed to do that because it was Nando's, the brand. So I can't give Nando's enough props because that brand allows you to do that. And the irony is, in the last 2-3 years of our relationship, we hit the best work we've ever done. It was strike after strike after strike after strike. We found our feet, which was unfortunately sad that the relationship came to an end at the point where we discovered it. But it's an amazing brand. It's the most South African brand. It's an opportunity for agencies to make a name for themselves. It's an opportunity for creative people to set their careers on path. It's an amazing opportunity for marketing managers, to put it on their CV and learn a lot. It's one of the most special brands to work on in South Africa till today. I can't imagine a better brand to work for. So I learned a hell of a lot from Nando's. We had a lot of fun. We got into a lot of shit. We learned a lot of lessons about how client and agencies won. There was never pointing fingers that, yeah, you got us in hot water. We stood together. We took it on the chin together. We won together. We lost together. And the brand was like the values of that brand. That's why it's a bit like, I always say Nando's is like a bit of a cult. Robbie's created a bit of a cult. The people there that believe in that stuff. But you can see why, because it's a special brand. So I think if to have an experience to work on the brand is a privilege. To have led the brand from a communication point of view for 12 years of my career, which is over half my ad career, is a great honor. I'm very lucky. So I don't have a creative philosophy, I have a work philosophy. And that's just love and respect. Love what you do and respect the people you do it with. That's it. You don't have to respect the work. You just got to love what you do. And you don't have to love the people you do it with, because that's the world. It's unfortunate. But you have to respect them. And if those two are out of sync, then, it's not going to work out. So I've always signed my email signatures with love and respect, because I believe if you love what you do and you respect who you're doing it with, you'll not only create great stuff and a legacy, but you'll have fun doing it. You'll enjoy coming to work. And for me, that's enough, because if I can enjoy doing my work, that's, 2/3 of my day. It's 2/3 of your life. Yeah. So I don't have a creative philosophy, I don't think. I think creatively you just want it to be a pleasant surprise every time. Maybe if I had to put words to it, it's like, make sure it's a pleasant surprise. Don't see it coming, and make sure when you do see it, you feel rewarded by it. So pleasant surprise is a good one. Sure. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for the opportunity, man.